I warned you that this was coming. The moves that you're seeing taking place across the crypto markets right now are the real deal. If you're wondering whether or not you can trust these moves, I believe that you can, because they're all happening because of one major catalyst that's just taken place. And this catalyst will reignite this crypto bull market once more and send altcoin and Bitcoin prices much higher into the coming weeks. On top of that, several other catalysts are now lining up to give us a full-blown 2021 style bull market still ahead of us. Things are about to get much more exciting than they've been. Do me a favor, hit the like button. Let's find out what's really going on. Now guys, before we dive in and find out exactly what is driving these markets so that you can regain trust and start to understand just how exciting things are going to get for Bitcoin and the altcoins, just a quick disclaimer. Nothing I say in this video is financial advice. Everything I say is for entertainment purposes only. If you wish to invest in crypto, you should understand that it's risky and you can lose money. So don't risk money that you can't afford to lose, and always do your own research before investing in anything. Now that we got that out of the way, let's crack on with it. Now guys, if you tuned in and watched my last video, which I made almost a week ago, then you will maybe have a bit of a clue about what's just happened and probably would have seen this move coming across crypto. Because if you look at crypto bubbles right now, it's pretty amazing to see what's going on. Starknet up 40%, World Liberty Fi 27%, Fetch AI 21%, and some of the coins have also been pumping over the weekend as well. Things have been looking pretty good across the altcoins, and Bitcoin is now back to just under $106,000. But what I want you to start understanding is that this is no fluke. I want you to start really understanding what's going on behind the scenes, because it's going to allow you to know that in the short term, the charts aren't always that important. The news not so important. Really what is driving this is one thing and one thing alone. And that thing is liquidity. You see, liquidity is effectively money, right? When there's lots of money in the system, lots of people have money in their pockets, crypto does well. And crypto does particularly well over other asset classes. And that's because crypto is a risk asset class. Obviously, crypto is significantly riskier than being in stocks and shares. It's even riskier than being in property and other things like that. So when there's no liquidity in the system, risk assets don't do well. When there's lots of liquidity in the system, risk assets typically do very well. Now, this bull market for Bitcoin began all the way back in 2023, or the start of 2023, when Bitcoin was worth around $16,000. And subsequently, it's gone all the way up here with several periods of time where we've seen expansion of liquidity, compression of liquidity, expansion of liquidity, compression of liquidity, expansion, compression. And ultimately what's driven this move has mostly come from the Federal Reserve's repo market. And that Federal Reserve's repo market is like the savings account of the Federal Reserve of the United States. Now, when the markets are moving from risk on, like they were at the top of the 2021 bull market, towards risk off, like the bottom of the bear market in 2022, effectively, money starts to stack up in that repo market as banks try to safeguard themselves against sketchy moves in the economy. So they're pushing all their money into this repo market. Then what happens is, as conditions start to ease, the repo market gets drained and the money flows back out into the system, i.e. injecting liquidity back into the system. And that's what's basically driven Bitcoin from the bottoms to the tops in the same time that the Federal Reserve's repo market has been falling down. But big problem. The Federal Reserve's repo market is now at zero. And this has been a very big problem for us over the past 6 weeks because of one thing alone that's happened in the United States. Now, other countries around the world like China, Japan, the Eurozone, the United Kingdom, all contribute in terms of liquidity to the global liquidity system. And they do this at different times, but typically they don't do it at times when there's risk-off conditions in the United States, because the US Federal Reserve effectively controls the dollar, and every currency around the world is pegged to the dollar. So when it's unclear what's happening with the dollar, everyone else around the world also starts to cool down at the same time. So it's had a very big impact on what's happening in the United States at any given time. And in the past 6 weeks, with the reverse repo market at zero, we have also had liquidity constricted from other directions. And that's all come about because of the US government shutdown. And the US government shutdown came in around the 1st of October, which was about here. You can see after that, the market makers moved the price of Bitcoin higher to capture everybody at the top and then liquidated everyone in this record-breaking $19 billion liquidation day. Ever since then, you can see that the crypto markets have been in semi-free fall. Bitcoin and particularly the altcoins have suffered a lot during this time. Ethereum pushed all the way down to $3,000. Sui even wicked down to around 58 cents, which is absolutely bonkers because it started that same day at $3, 40. Now, why has the government shutdown caused this, and why is the government shutdown about to end? Well, the government shutdown happened because two parties, the United States government, which is the Democrats, and the Republicans, have been unable to agree on passing a vote to do something with the US healthcare system. I don't really know that much about it. I don't really care because obviously I'm not American. But all I know is they couldn't really agree, which is unsurprising because both parties hate each other and you have to get a significant majority, which means that you have to get people from the other party to vote in favor of something that you want in order to pass the vote, which obviously was never going to happen. And is why basically the markets just started to go into freefall when they suddenly decided that no one was ever going to be able to agree on this, which is not really that surprising when you understand that dynamic about having to have majority votes. But anyway, this stopped liquidity entering the system because of two different things. First of all, 900,000 government workers in the United States didn't get paid. During this period of time, they weren't getting any payment. This means that the Treasury General account, which is the checking account of the United States, now has around $200 billion of payments stacked up in it. That money wasn't flowing in, it was constricted. Liquidity exited the system, crypto went down because it's a risk asset. That liquidity will eventually re-enter the markets. $200 billion will re-enter the markets globally in terms of payments and whatever else. Suddenly, people who didn't have any money suddenly get money again. That money starts to flow around the system more. On top of this, several other major things are going to happen. You see, during this period of time, all the data around inflation, all of the data around unemployment, all of the other things that go on around kind of the decisions on whether or not they're going to cut interest rates, bring in quantitative easing, etc., have all not been released. All of that data that the Federal Reserve needs to be able to make decisions has not been released. So what does that mean? It means that everyone has been a bit uncertain of what's been going on. When there is uncertainty, what do banks and institutions not want to do? They don't want to take risk. You don't want to enter into risk assets during uncertain times. What is crypto? It is a risk asset. So uncertainty in the market, no risk assets. Thank you very much. Liquidity down, risk assets suffer. Okay, this isn't good for crypto, but guess what's just happened? Guess what catalyst has just happened? Changed everything. US Senate votes in favor of a bill to end the federal government shutdown. Hooray, okay? We all knew it was eventually going to happen. We just didn't know when it was going to happen, okay? We didn't know when it was going to happen because we're not in the White House, okay? So by not knowing when it's going to happen, all we had to do was just sit quietly and kind of hold on for dear life. All we had to do was that because we knew it would end at some point. Why? Because they always end at some point. This one was a record one, but it still is about to end. Hasn't ended yet, unless some sort of tweet from Donald Trump or whatever comes in the next few days and sort of shakes this up. We can kind of almost assume now that this is going to happen at some point in the next few days. This is very good news for us because it will suddenly release not only $200 billion into the economy, but also it releases all the job data and things like that. Therefore, we can likely then see the US Federal Reserve potentially leaning more heavily towards introducing quantitative easing. They already sort of talked about the fact that they would be ending QT into December, which is quantitative tightening. Effectively, all of these things are going to add liquidity. Liquidity is what crypto needs. Crypto isn't randomly going up and down all the time. It might feel like that because you're kind of looking in too closely or just staring at charts. It's actually logical about what's really going on behind the scenes. All of it's driven by liquidity. In the short term, the moves are basically driven by market makers and things like that, which is why you should be very cautious of following simply just charts. Right now, everybody's been jumping in and taking short trades, which is kind of dumb because the market was already at lows during MEXC, and now the market's going to move towards the upside, leaving most people getting liquidated once more, because now it's quite obvious that the market's going to move higher because of the liquidity. Now, that's obviously very good. Okay, more money into the system, reduced interest rates, quantitative easing coming in, Treasury General account draining into the system. On top of that, something else has just happened, which is pretty exciting. Trump weighs in, giving Americans $2,000 from tariff revenues in a bid for support. Now, many of you who were around in the last bull market were probably aware that a lot of that bull market got driven by the liquidity that was created by stimulus checks from COVID. Since we don't have COVID right now, there is no stimulus checks until over the weekend when Donald Trump said he was going to do this. Now, the tariffs that Trump's brought in have caused a lot of discomfort and pain over the last year. So he's gone out and said, yeah, but this is good for you guys because I'm now going to give everybody $2,000 each, which is pretty amazing. So this not only puts more money or more disposable income into people's pockets, some of which will end up in crypto, but ultimately it just means there's more money in the system because people who have $2,000 will go out and spend their money at restaurants and do whatever else with it. Money gets suddenly added into circulation. This is very, very bullish for crypto. And it also adds to inflation. Now, not because this money is coming from other countries and having to be printed in dollars. Effectively, the tariffs that this money has come from isn't like China and whatever else. It's from the people who are US-based kind of shipping companies who are importing from China, who are paying this tariff money. They're effectively paying all that money, and that money is now being redistributed to kind of normal people. And also, he's saying $2,000, but $600 in tariff rebates. In fact, there's also going to have to be a certain amount of money printing going on to be able to give this away, which again weakens the dollar. Again, crypto hedge against inflation, that kind of narrative brings about again. So effectively, a lot of stuff like we've seen happen in the previous bull markets, just in a slightly different way, and it's taken us slightly longer to get here because instead of starting this bull market with nice kind of QE and low interest rates like we saw in the last bull market and the one before that, we've started this bull market with incredibly high interest rates. We've started it with risk off conditions. Now we're moving to risk on. This is incredibly bullish if you understand what's actually happening and don't pay too much attention to just sort of short-term charts. Now, which altcoins would I be paying attention to right now? Where should I be moving? But before I tell you that, I just want to tell you this. On Thursday, I'm going to be running a tutorial in a free Telegram group, just link down below, teaching you how to set up trading bots for absolutely free. If you want to go and join that tutorial, which will be held on Zoom, not on YouTube, then make sure you go and sign up to the free Telegram. I've been using these trading bots over the last few weeks. Effectively, what they do is allow you to take lots of buys and sell positions throughout kind of market moves. So as you see, like typically Bitcoin or whatever altcoins are always kind of like chopping in and out of different zones. So by having lots of little mini buys and sells that are going on throughout the markets, effectively you're going to be able to capture a lot of these trades and you're going to be making money even if Bitcoin, Ethereum and everything is going sideways. If you're finding it difficult to trade, it's too emotional and difficult, then I recommend checking out that tutorial. I will show you exactly how to copy bots that I personally set up and been using to make profits over the last few weeks. And I'll also teach you how to build these bots for yourself, all for absolutely free. Just sign up through the Telegram link down below. Now, a question, can we have an altcoin season? Well, I believe so. Why not? In the last bull market, there was too many altcoins. There's too many altcoins in this one. But if you go through the top 900 coins on crypto bubbles or whatever it is, right now, the majority of them, with the handful that are not, are actually up today, significantly up. And as the bull market warms up more, you're going to see more liquidity flowing around the system. You're going to see more greed, more excitement, more people entering. There is a lot of money to come into crypto still that can move all of these around. Now, yeah, there are a few that are down today, like AL and FLM. And if you go to like the top 100, you've got like Dash down and ICP and XMR, but the majority of coins are up. So yeah, if you think about across crypto, like the amount of like different coins and things that people are interested in, it's probably not even 1,000, probably not even like 50 or 100. If you were to take every like influencer like me and Alex Becker and Crypto Banter and I don't know, No BS Crypto and a handful of others, and you look at all the people on Twitter, really, they're not really talking about more than about 50 to 100 different coins. There's not that much kind of like good stuff. If you're kind of focusing towards a lot of these kind of like ones here, I think a lot of them are probably going to do pretty well. The only thing that you have to safeguard yourself against is this. If you're turning on crypto bubbles today and you're like, I don't hold Starknet, but Starknet's at 45%, I should sell my XMR to buy Starknet, stop it. You are down in crypto right now because you do this and you've done this before. Stop doing that. It's so dumb. If you're selling stuff that's low to buy stuff that's high, you're giving away your advantage of being in early. You're in early right now because the market's been decimated, which gives you a good chance to enter in. Don't jump into coins that have been pumping because the next day, typically, they'll go down. Effectively, right now, a lot of these moves are happening not because retail are flooding in to buy them. Retail is not flooding in to buy anything right now. A lot of these are moving because market makers are pushing them up. Okay, suddenly they've got the money in the bank, they're pushing the money into these coins. Suddenly what they try to do is they're getting everyone to kind of FOMO into them. Don't FOMO into stuff, just sit and wait. If you're holding the Asters or the Says or the whatever it is, Ondos, your coins will be running strongly like this eventually. Okay, so just be patient. Some of these coins might be really good or whatever else. If you're already holding them, fantastic. Don't be afraid to take profits when those times come around. Okay, but just do yourself a favor. Stop kind of aping into stuff that's already pumped like crazy. Just be patient. Your coins will have their chance. The bull market, when it eventually sort of kickstarts again, will run somewhere for sort of 4 to 6 months, I believe. I did originally think that the bull market would come to an end sometime before the end of this year, but now that we've got this kind of liquidity still waiting to flow into the system, now that everything's been pushed back further, now because of all the delays from tariffs and world wars and all this other stuff, I do believe that we have more runway into next year. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. In the next video, which I'll make probably tomorrow, I'm going to focus more into altcoins, start to identify different trends, things that are moving, start to identify where the opportunities lie. I know I've talked a lot about what's been going on in the broader economy. Sorry if that's been boring, but it's important to understand what's really moving the markets around and to calm things down. If you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, hit the like button, leave a comment down below, always helps me out. Thank you very much for doing that. And if you're new to the channel and you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.